Basketball fans, welcome into another edition of Raptors. Today as the Toronto Raptors get set for some road tripping. Akil Augustine, Randy Urban playing musical chairs, hopping around the set, and of course, Sherm Hamilton joining us, and we got to get into it. Randy, nothing to comment off the top? I know you got some jokes.
Oh, I was just going to say, I got to get something off my chest real quick. I got into, I don't know why I didn't hear about this before, but I've got into Love is Blind.
This is what you're starting the show with? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go for it.
Have
go
you been
for
watching
it,
this on Netflix?
my girlfriend forced me to watch a couple of episodes.
What do you think of it?
Well, I'm disappointed by the show's existence, but I want to hear what's your angle here.
Nothing. That's
just the comment.
It's infiltrating my life right now. I'm not sure I'm happy about it, but I can't stop watching it. Sure knows what I'm talking about.
I have no clue.
Clearly he does.
I think there's some inside information I'm not having access to right now, but okay, let's jump into it. The Raptors are on the road while Randy will be watching a lot of Love is Blind. Let's talk about basketball. Sure.
Please, can we?
Let's talk about the Sacramento Kings coming off a big win against the Memphis Grizzlies. 7 of their last 10 games, they've managed to pull off some wins and restabilize themselves in the Western Conference. And when you talk about this Kings team, you usually start with De'Aaron Fox, but we're going to start with KH, Kevin Huerter. Let's break down his game because he's been a huge part of them kind of finding their footing once again after that hot start.
The red-headed assassin. He's doing a great job, but, you know, he moves well off the screen. I always like shooters setting screens. Their man has to help. He gets the screen, and Sabonis is very good at cleaning up screens, so he does a good job coming off that screen. And here you see a little dribble handoff, and look at the efficiency of the footwork to get to the spot and to get his balance to get that shot off. It is very, very efficient. And now you see a switch here, and he cuts back door because he knows he's going to get a double pin down on the weak side, and it's really just brush by to create traffic. Nobody really sets a screen here. But he knocks down the three, but reading what the defense is trying to do, and here he comes off of a pin-down action into a dribble handoff. He turns the corner. The defender goes under the screen. That's a no-no. He's going to get right back to his spot, clear space. The help defender too far down in the drop defense, not able to help out. But his numbers across the board are career highs, and he's doing it under Mike Brown, who's done a great job getting these guys to play the brand of basketball that fits their style. And Kevin Huerter has really been good this season for the Sacramento Kings.
You know what I liked about one of those plays, the one where he cut back door? He acted as if he wasn't a part of the play, right? You know, and you have to have some sort of deception when you're a shooter like that. You can't just be going, oh, I know the play's being designed for me. I know I'm getting a pin down right here. You have to, pretend like you're kind of not into it.
Emmy season's upon us, and he might get one.
No, that was great.
I'm curious to see what the Atlanta Hawks didn't see in this young man because he is certainly flourishing in his new role with Sacramento.
Oh, they miss his shooting for sure.
They got a logjam, though, of different talent, and I think they needed to kind of free some of that up. So I don't know if it's like, we don't like him. It's
but Bogdanovic has been injured so much, and they could use a Kevin Huerter.
Yeah.
But
hindsight is 2020 now.
He's so big, too.
Yeah.
We talked about this before when they were in town.
Now, this is part of the show I've been looking forward to for a while, and that's our very own czar of the telestrator. No disrespect to Mike Fratello,
thank you.
When Randy comes in, you want to see what he does with his analysis on this.
Randy,
feel free to jump in.
It's like car crash humor.
Feel free to jump in at any point.
I'm giving you all the rope to do yourself in.
Okay. Well, the runway is yours, Randy. We're breaking down the game
about?
of De'Aaron Fox. So starting off on a strong note, we're breaking down De'Aaron Fox and his ability to split defenses and use his speed.
Yeah, this is easy, guys. I don't know about you.
It's a layup.
But speed kills, especially in the NBA. And you can't teach this. This is something that the pastor don't teach. You know what I'm talking about, Akil. But look, he just uses speed to get to this spot right here. And then throws it down. That speed and athleticism. Look, what doesn't work in the NBA is going 100 all the time. So he's changing speeds, and I think that's where he's been able to separate himself from years past, right? This is why guys like Luka Doncic and De'Aaron Fox can both be successful in the NBA playing the same position because of changing speeds. Now, that's just bad defense. I don't know why. Like that, I don't even know how to break that down. Like, all he just saw was a gap, and he went after it. And then this is another thing that I like about De'Aaron Fox. He had come into this season more in shape than in past seasons, and his shot has improved. So you do that. In past seasons, he would work himself into shape, and when you work yourself into shape, your timing is off, your shot is off, you're trying to just get your rhythm. Now, I think he's figured it out. He's come into shape,
We're taking a look at his numbers here.
Yeah.
Explain to us, you were mentioning something about a double-double?
Well, it's 24-10 when I look at it. I'm just kidding. It's not. But
Fantasy-wise, though.
fantasy-wise, I like adding up the rebounds and assists and going, okay, that's like, he's giving me 6 assists, 4 rebounds. That's 10 big points.
For you fantasy fans out there.
Yeah, if I'm looking at a guy that's like 21 and 7 and 0 assists, I'm taking De'Aaron Fox at 24 and 6 and 4.
Trying to win some
because he helps different categories.
Yeah,
but
it's a category game.
But I'm saying if somebody's just giving me 9 rebounds and nothing else, I would rather have 6 rebounds and 5 assists.
Yes, but you don't collectively put it together and put a number on it.
No, well, I did.
Which is what you did.
He's inventing a whole new metric system. Now, let's stick with the current metric system that's the most important, and that, of course, is the dubs and the Ls.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for the Toronto Raptors, the last time they matched up with the Sacramento Kings team, they fell at home at the Scotiabank Arena by 1 point. So, Sherm, I'll start with you here because we got to give Randy a rest after all that analysis. But what's it going to take on the road? This Kings team 16-10 at home, right? They're trying to light the beam as much as possible. What's going to take to kind of balance the playing field and get the Raptors a W during these troubling times?
It's going to take a lot. I mean, this Sacramento team has shown that it's not just about a beam. It's not gimmicks. They're a good team, and they're playing consistently well. The issue is, as Randy was talking about, the breakdown ability of De'Aaron Fox. He's so good at just getting into the paint and creating havoc. Sabonis is a nightmare. He's crazy on the glass. He creates so much issues. Yeah, he's a physical. He has a throwback feel to him with a nuanced new age game as well. So he's a really good balanced player. But the way that they can shoot the ball,
Keegan Murray,
the young fella, he's looking to be very special. But the way they can shoot it with the breakdown ability, they're going to have to really do something that they struggle with all season long, which is keep the ball out of their paint as much as they can and not force a rotation, because if they expose that glass, it's lights out. So the Raptors are going to have to pick it up defensively, and we say this all the time, and it sounds repetitive, but they've got to get off to a good start. Mm-hmm. You can't let Sacramento jump all over you and just start to really get the crowd into it. They've got to get going early.
Well, as good as Sacramento has been this season, they still average allowing 116 points plus per game, which is in the bottom third of the league, which is not good. So you can score on them. As good as Sabonis has been offensively, and you said a great screen cleaner upper, he can finish, he's strong.
I like that term.
You didn't say that.
I did.
I butchered it. But you said clean up. I added on it. It's not a word. He is a bit light defensively, right? You can expose that defense, and I think getting off to a hot start, getting your offense in rhythm for the Raptors is going to be key, because they will let you score. That's just how they're built. I mean, De'Aaron Fox, you see how he breaks down the offense. It's not like people don't talk about De'Aaron Fox and like he's locking you up. Now, they do have some good defenders on there. Davion Mitchell will get after it defensively. But you attack them early. You attack that starting group early. You get into a rhythm. You get into a flow. And you can take that game. Look, they're the Sacramento Kings. They're a nice team.
They're not your dad's Sacramento Kings.
No, they're not your dad's Sacramento Kings. They're a nice team. I think they're playing better than maybe they will for the rest of the season. So I think that you can beat them.
You're past the half point.
I know.
You think they peaked? Okay, all right. Well, let's talk about a new peak, and that is a peak of 7 road games straight, the high point for the Toronto Raptors. Looking ahead, they've got the Kings, the Warriors, Trailblazers, Suns, a strong Jazz team. You might get a break with the Rockets, but you don't know every night. You got to bring your hard hat and get ready to work in this NBA. So now, is there any team that's standing out to you, Randy? Any game, any matchup that's kind of like a litmus test, measuring stick, or really important for this Raptors group while they're on this 7-game stand?
Well, I always like looking at teams that you've beat at your home floor and how you respond to them, to playing them on their home floor. So the Timberwolves game, I think, or the Trailblazers game, I think, is a big one, because the Raptors did beat them here on a Sunday afternoon, and they tend to play well in Portland for some reason. Every time I've been on the road trips with you guys, that they just play well there. They can score the basketball. Portland also not great defensively. So you can take advantage of that. Look, I look at that schedule, and I think you can rattle off 5 wins. I know the schedule is tough because there's a back-to-back. I think there's 2 back-to-backs in there. I'm not certain. Maybe 2 back-to-backs in there. And it's going to be difficult. You're on the West Coast. You're adjusting to the time change and all that kind of stuff. But I think this is a chance to really turn your situation around.
All right, we take a look at the schedule here. Sherm, what stands out to you?
1 back-to-back.
This is a tough stretch. And I tell you what, that playing the Trailblazers on the back of the Warriors, that changes the dynamic
Sure
that
does.
Randy was talking about a bit. But you look at the Suns, Chris Paul is back. You know, the Jazz, as you
But
mentioned.
they haven't figured it out this
They
year.
haven't figured it out, but he is back. But the Jazz, when you talk about the Jazz, I mean, without Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, you thought this team was just going to go away.
Yep.
But they found ways to be competitive. The Rockets are the Rockets, and the Grizzlies are a dominant team in the West. So it's not going to be an easy road trip for this team. And it's going to be tough because you've got to bring your defense on the road. You got to find ways to score, but you got to bring your defense on the road.
Look, if you want to be a team that people want to take seriously, you have to beat the Utah Jazz in Utah, right? This is like, it doesn't matter that it's part of a 7-game road trip. These are games you have to win. It's as good as Utah has been, as good as Phoenix has been. Their record isn't great. You got to win some of these games. It's just that simple.
Now, is there a potential positive that can come from this road trip? Because let's face it, the climate here in Toronto, with the media scrutiny, with the fans' reaction to how the team has played over the last stretch, is this an opportunity where, you know, a team gets together, they get to be isolated away from the usual constraints of family and sponsor responsibilities? Could this potentially be a positive, Sherm, for this group as they move forward?
You hope so. You know, you hope that they kind of have that bunker mentality and go out on the road and start to rip off some wins. It's not going to be easy though. The Raptors have their issues. These teams, some of the teams that they're playing against are quality teams, especially on their home floor. The question is too about OG. Is he going to be healthy and ready to go for this road trip? Because you're going to need him. If he's not there, you're going to feel his absence. So I just think that the positive for the Raptors are they're coming off of a win.
Yeah.
You're taking a win into the road, and you've got to feel good about that, understanding that first game is going to be so important against Sacramento. They've got to come out, as we said, and really establish themselves early.
Yeah, it's tough because the trade deadline is also at the end of the road trip, right? So you're playing under that umbrella, that cloud.
That's why I mentioned it might be good to get out of Toronto.
Yeah, no, for sure. But don't think that stuff doesn't follow you wherever you go. And you know, it could be a good situation for them to just, you know, galvanize. And I think that the last few times they've gone out on road trips, they've lost the home game going in. So they've lost that sort of momentum. But I do think they have been playing a little bit better on the road, despite those last 2 games that they did play on the road. They were, you know, those are 2 games that they should have won against Minnesota and against Milwaukee, in my opinion.
So Raptors are 6-15 on the road, unfortunately.
I know, but they have looked better over the last
little
stretch
direction
on the road. Those 2 games could have been a different story. So I like. Look, I tend to be optimistic. I like the chances of having a successful road trip. I do. I don't know why. There's something about they've shown me in years past that in this situation they can go out and get 4 or 5 wins.
Do you have to throw a number on it in terms of what you define as a successful road trip for this group?
I think if they go 4-3, that's 5-2. Like that would be great. 5-2 is what I would be hoping for here.
Okay, well, next week is Rivals Week. The NBA has deemed the Golden State Warriors as the Toronto Raptors' rival, as they have a series of games set up between teams of significant history. So I'm going to throw this at you guys, Sherm. I'll start with you. Do you believe that the Golden State Warriors, and I guess they're judging it on the strength of that NBA Finals, and the Raptors had a couple good games against the Golden State Warriors leading up to the 2019 Finals. Do you believe this is the Toronto Raptors' official franchise rival?
I don't. I mean, obviously, you win a championship against the Warriors, and that was fun. But I really think that a better rival would have been the 76ers.
Bong, bong, bong. Agreed.
Yeah, I think that, you know, the whole history with Joel Embiid and the shot and everything that went into that, to me, that would be a better, more consistent, I think, Raptor fan rivalry. But I get it. It's, you know, it was a championship series, and the NBA is trying to kind of match teams up. And the 76ers and the Nets, which is one of the matchups, makes sense because of the Ben Simmons situation.
And they're neighbors.
Yeah, and they're neighbors. But you could have went Nets, New York.
Yep.
76ers, Raptors.
I think so, too. You didn't even mention AI Vince, and that's a huge part of that history there.
That's true, too, if you want to go way back, for sure.
Boston also, for a team that they haven't played a lot in the playoffs, they did play in the bubble in the playoffs. I think Boston, for some reason, whenever Toronto plays Boston, there's a different energy, right? I know with the fans, they want us to beat Boston. The games are always competitive in Boston. I mean, the Warriors is interesting, too, because
Not as a rivalry, though.
No, not as a rivalry, but it's funny because they look at that as not a championship that the Raptors should have won, right? Their fans
with the KD injury.
Yeah, they don't validate it. So I think anytime you can go and beat them again, I think it's kind of cool.
All right, well, I mean, I understand the Boston claim simply because if you look back a couple of years at the Eastern Conference and the young cores that were blossoming around the league, you would have pegged the Raptors with Van Vliet, OG, Pascal, right there with the Tatums and the Browns. And so that was kind of the argument there. But that kind of story's kind of fallen by the wayside with what's happened of recent.
Well, they've been great. They've been unbelievable. The Celtics are the best team in the NBA right now.
Yeah. It's too bad the Celtics-Lakers is no longer a viable option as a rivalry. It just doesn't matter.
Well, you don't know that because Lakers making moves.
Oh, yeah, they did make a move, and we'll talk about that later in the show. But right now, we got to talk about a move.
I thought it was a segue into now.
No, but well done. I mean, you have a lot of practice.
Well done. Have you done this TV thing before?
It's the second time on TV.
But let's talk about a move the Raptors made recently. A move that a lot of people thought would have came earlier in the season, and that was moving Christian Koloko down with the Raptors 905. Your impressions of the decision on the timing, because at one point the Raptors thought he was ready to go. Sherm, I'll ask you. Are you intrigued by the timing of now that Christian Koloko has been sent down mid-season as opposed to earlier in the season?
No, I mean, the Raptors endured a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And you needed bodies, and you might as well throw the young fella out there and give him the reps. And remember, this happened to Pascal his rookie season too. First half of the season, he got a ton of reps as a starter. Mm-hmm. So to give him some reps as a starter and some coming off the bench, you get an idea of what he can and can't do. And he's tailed off a little bit, and I think that's where you send him down to get the confidence going, to get the reps in there. Kind of he's the focal point of the offense, so you can really give him the possessions to see what he can do and develop confidence. So the timing makes sense based on the fact that, they needed bodies earlier in the season, and it's a solid performance with the 905 on Saturday. But you can see that if you give him minutes in a situation that he's confident, he can do multiple things on the floor. And to me, that's the intriguing thing about Koloko. He's a versatile player at his size that when given the opportunity in the right situation with the right elements, he can produce at a pretty good level.
Yeah, and look, this is the NBA. This is not, you playing your high school guys because they came to practice early, right? Like this guy, they obviously saw something in training camp, in how they scouted him and all that he's a player. Like his instincts are such that he fits in the NBA, and he fits a need that the Raptors were lacking in the shot blocking, rim protection, all that kind of stuff. I do think this is a great move. This is why you have the G League. You can send him down at any point. It's great for him to get those touches, those reps, improve his offensive game. I want to see a little bit more rebounding from my 7-1 center. That's it. And this is where you can work on that.
It's true, and it's huge for his confidence just to have the leash, not to have to look over his shoulder, and to kind of get a feel with the refs to understand where he can and can't be and what he can and can't do.
And bigger, I mean, that's defensive. You want him to rebound and block shots, but offensively to build his confidence and just give him touches to go to work. That goes a long way for a guy who's coming in to be a defensive player.
Plus, the travel in the G League is not like the NBA, so you got a lot more time to do stuff. So you hit the gym, you get stronger.
And it's a little humbling, too, right? You get that taste in your mouth. Yeah. Fred and Pascal have all gone through it, where, they were disappointed they were there, and they knew they had to seize the moment because they wanted to be back on those private jets.
Yeah, he's got to get to the Sherman Hamilton School of chin-ups.
Okay, all right. Okay,
I don't know where that came from.
I'm going to let you two continue to hash it out.
I see you doing chin-ups all the time, and you are strong.
Okay, all right. Randy, big fan of Sherm and his
what
upper
is going
body strength.
on here?
I don't know. You got to expect stuff when Randy comes on the show. He tries to throw us off.
Love is blind.
Let's talk about Rui Hachimura moving around. The Lakers made a trade, sending several second-round picks, as well as Kendrick Nunn, who hasn't really worked out too well for them in their goals.
Surprisingly,
he was supposed to be the young guard, inject some life into this group. But Rui Hachimura finds his way to Los Angeles to aid LeBron James and Anthony Davis when he returns. Your impressions of this trade? I'll start with you, Randy.
I find it hilarious that you can be a GM one day and get fired the next day, but still have traded a pick from 2029. But I love Rui Hachimura. I think this is a great move for the Lakers. He's a scorer. He's big. He can make plays. He clearly wasn't getting the playing time. Look, this is a guy that started early in his career. He hasn't started at all this season.
Well, Kyle Kuzma came and showed up, and he's been a completely different player.
I really like Rui Hachimura. I was kind of upset that the Lakers got him, to be honest. I wanted him. I mean, I'm happy for you, but I mean, I don't know what he's going to do there. What's going to happen because LeBron is still so ball dominant. But
I think he's a good corner 3-point shooter.
Yeah, I really
they don't
like
have
this
that.
kid a lot. He's 24 years old. This is a great opportunity for him to get out and show what he can do.
Well, first of all, they shouldn't have ever gotten rid of Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah, the Lakers regret that
So
decision.
now you're going back to get
And Brandon
a
Ingram.
replacement.
The guy who backs up Kyle Kuzma.
100%. You're getting a guy who can kind of fill that slot a little bit. Maybe not as much of a scorer as Kuzma, but defensively can add something. He has the size, and he's been used to playing off the ball with Bradley Beal.
Mm-hmm.
So playing off the ball with
he's good,
LeBron
man.
is going to be a good fit for him. But also I like the fact that if he needs to get something on his own, he can go get it. And then defensively, now you become a bigger team. When you have LeBron and you have Westbrook and you have Hachimura now, you've got size on that perimeter.
Is he 6'9"? Is that?
I don't know.
'Cause
He's a big boy, though.
He's bulky too.
And,
He's
and you
not
can play
slight.
that switchable defense. You don't give up too much ground. So I like this move for the Lakers, and they needed to do something.
Immediately. Yeah.
LeBron's playing otherworldly basketball at this stage of his career. Can't let it go to waste. They need something to turn around. And it's not a big splash, but sometimes a little piece is
Well,
all that you need to plug in.
Is
right?
this enough? Like, does it? Like,
That was
they got to
gonna
do
be my
something
follow-up
else,
question.
right?
Do they need to do something else?
Enough for what?
Well, what's the goal? You got
To
LeBron.
It's
win a
enough to get them
championship.
better.
No, they have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their goal is to win a championship. That's it.
Well, no, that's.
Like, they can't.
I mean, you're not looking at him and saying he's the piece that makes
No.
this team a championship contender, but you're saying he's a piece that significantly impacts the way they play and can turn the corner a little bit. And who knows? Maybe that little piece is what it takes to relieve some pressure off LeBron. That kind of settles things down, and now you get a higher level of winning. You might not get more numbers, but you get a better winning level.
LeBron relieves some pressure on LeBron every time he doesn't run back on defense. So don't worry about LeBron.
Listen, the biggest move the Lakers can make is getting Anthony
After
Davis out.
20 years, man, you're gonna give it on one end and not the other. Can you leave the man alone?
All right.
He's still a smart defender too. He picks his
100%,
spots. He picks his
100%.
spots.
His
All right, the
spots.
next spot for the Toronto Raptors will be Sacramento as they have a 10 p.m. matchup with the Kings. You can catch that on the Sportsnet family of networks. 590's got the call. That does it for us on Raptors Today. We thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys Friday. Peace.